I obtained a game key for this game from QUByte Interactive for review purposes. Glover was one of those delightfully weird games that defined a unique era of experimentation in gaming. Originally released on the Nintendo 64 in 1998, it stands among other odd yet endearing titles that hold near and dear to my heart, like No One Can Stop Mr. Domino, Hurdy-Gurdy, and Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. These games with their strange mechanics and one-of-a-kind charm shaped my love for gaming. I treasure anything different, and Glover has always been part of that collection of special unconventional gems. So when I heard about the remaster, I was ecstatic. Knowing that there's a thriving speedrun community keeping Glover alive through emulators, I was excited for a supposed return to form. I love that we're seeing older games return through remasters and remakes, but this remaster of Glover is a massive disappointment. Glover, the 1998 cult classic 3D platformer, has been re-released for modern consoles, including the PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox Series X and S. Developed by QUByte Interactive and published by QUByte, Pico Interactive, and Bleem, this version aims to introduce the whimsical world of Glover to a new generation of gamers. The narrative remains faithful to the original. A wizard's experiment goes awry, turning him into stone and animating his magical glove, Glover. Players guide Glover on a quest to retrieve lost crystals and restore balance to the kingdom. This quirky premise sets the stage for a series of eventful levels that blend puzzle solving with platforming challenges. Central to Glover's gameplay is the manipulation of a rubber ball, which players can transform into different forms, such as a bowling ball or a ball bearing, to navigate obstacles and solve puzzles. While this mechanic was innovative in the late 90s, the controls still caused a lot of frustration at the time and still do with this version of the game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you want the full original understanding of what makes Glover, Glover. The game's physics-based puzzles offer moments of satisfaction, but the overall experience is hampered by an uncooperative camera system and imprecise controls. Despite being marketed as a remaster, this release of Glover is more accurately a direct port of the original game. The game runs at a low frame rate similar to the original Nintendo 64 version, and lacks modern enhancements such as improved textures or updated models. Visually, the game retains its original aesthetic, which may evoke nostalgia for some people but appears lackluster by today's standards. The environments are colorful yet simplistic, reflecting the technological limitations of its initial release. The soundtrack, however, is still a bop and must be praised for its catchy tunes that complement the game's whimsical atmosphere. One of the first things I noticed was the constant audio cutting out. The villain, Cross Stitch, is supposed to have a menacing laugh, but it randomly disappears. Collectibles don't play their satisfying jingles properly, and sound effects frequently cut off. It's jarring, and it takes away from the whimsical and immersive nature of the original. The remaster also introduces numerous color and lighting issues that are atrocious. In the Nintendo 64 version, the light source acted like a sun, giving proper illumination to the world. Here, the lighting is placed behind Glover, meaning he's always awkwardly backlit, which makes everything feel off. This, combined with the already awkward camera and clunky controls, makes traversal even worse. Shadows disappear or look strange. Colors lack the vibrancy of the original, making everything appear washed out and stale. There's also a potion in the game that's supposed to make Glover's feet red to indicate his ability to walk up walls, but in this version, it just doesn't work. There also seems to be transparency issues with water, dust, and environmental effects that make everything look flat and unpolished. remaster is plagued with bugs that make it feel unfinished. The shockwave effect for the fish boss is completely missing. The light at the end of the clown boss fight no longer blinks, removing an essential visual cue. The piano that drops at the end of the clown boss fight is an absolute mess, with textures morphing together in a way that makes the piano look like a broken asset. The electricity that you have to platform around completely disappears, and the list goes on and on the further you get into the game. For a remaster, this version of Glover fails to even meet the standards of the original game. You can't even reverse the camera controls, something that should be a standard in any modernized re-release. Cross-Stitch himself is missing stitches on his mouth in multiple scenes, making it clear that no one did a proper quality check. The extra menu is lazily thrown together with an off-centered extra button, which just looks unpolished. One of the craziest things of all is the demo reel that plays when you let the game sit still at the main menu. Instead of properly showcasing the gameplay, the demo now consists of Glover running in circles, aimlessly moving around, and then dying to the first enemy. It's embarrassing and shows that no care was put into adapting the game's mechanics properly. The only real thing I enjoyed about the effort of this remaster is the extras menu includes concept art of enemies and environments, which is a nice touch, and I think behind the scenes stuff will always be appreciated in newer versions of games. But that's not nearly enough to make up for the sheer laziness of this port. Remasters and re-releases should be about celebrating and preserving beloved games, but this version of Glover actively tarnishes the original's legacy. It's baffling how a game from 27 years ago runs and looks better than this so-called remaster. The core of Glover is still here, you can play it from start to finish, but it's an inferior product compared to the original, and that should never be the case. I know there's always a chance for a big update that fixes all of the game's problems, but should that be a standard state of affairs with remastering old games? Lazily up-res everything to the point where the remastered version of the game is worse than the original and sell it to fans to then release a patch? I think I know where the missing stitches went on cross-stitch. They are going to be used to try to stitch this game back together. While Glover's unique mechanics and charming premise hold nostalgic value, this re-release does little to modernize the experience for contemporary audiences. The dated controls, subpar graphics, and technical shortcomings make it challenging to recommend to those without a sentimental attachment to the original. Newcomers to the game may find the experience more frustrating than enjoyable, highlighting the need for more substantial updates and re-releases of classic titles. Re-releases of cherished games should reignite excitement, introduce them to new audiences, and maybe even spark interest in a sequel. Instead, this remaster of Glover sinks any hope of that happening. It's not technically unplayable, but it's certainly not the experience it should be. A wasted opportunity and a major disappointment. I give Glover a 4 out of 10.